In this video, I'll be demonstrating the Kitchener or Sewn Bind-Off that is used for 1x1 rib. It gives a nice stretchy elastic edge that really holds its shape nicely too. I've used it here on these fingerless mitts for both the top and for the thumb. Normally you would move the knits to one needle and the purls to another, and you would work back and forth similar to the setup of this, but I can show you how to do it on one needle so that you don't have to have that second set of circulars around. This piece that I've cast on just as a test is worked in the round, and I'm going to show you a couple of little tricks that I do with that also. Slide that back needle out of the way. The first stitch on the needle is a knit, and rather than do the setup steps that some tutorials tell you, I skip right into the knit purl, purl knit mantra. So the first stitch we go in knitwise, pull the yarn through. Normally you would drop this stitch off, but because I'm working in the round, what I like to do is pick up my back needle and slide that onto there. Hold that out of the way for a second. Now I'm going to go into the next knit stitch, which is the second stitch from the end, purlwise. Draw the yarn through. Then the first stitch is my purl. I go through that purlwise, knit, purl, purl, knit. And again, normally you would just drop this off, but I'm also going to grab that one with this back needle, and I'm going to slide those all the way around to the back. Then I can let this needle hang for a bit while I complete my step 4. Get a little closer so I can show you. This one, I'm going behind the needle between these two stitches and through the purl stitch knitwise. Knit, purl, purl, knit. And there I have completed my first set of 4. And we begin again. Knitwise into the knit. This time we just drop off. Purlwise into the next knit stitch, which is the second stitch from the end. Purlwise into the purl. And we drop that one off. Behind the needle, in between, and go knitwise through the purl. Knit, purl, purl, knit. Now, you can always tell where you are in terms of your 4 steps by where your yarn is coming from. Right now you can see that it's coming from the back in between these 2 stitches. So I know that I've just completed my set of 4. And I'll show you in this time where I'm at in each step. If I go through a knit, knitwise, and coming from the end, I'm going to drop that off. If I go into the second knit, purlwise, now my yarn is coming from the left side of that knit stitch. I go into that purl, purlwise, and my yarn is coming from between those two stitches. I can drop that off. Another thing, if you had dropped that stitch, you can see that it's hanging there, and you look to see, do I have a knit or a purl next? And if the purl one is the second one, then you know that's where you're headed. This is handy in case you get interrupted by the phone ringing or an alarm going off like is happening here right now. And you just continue in that manner all the way around. I'm going to finish this off and I'll come back when I get to the end and show you a couple of other tips there. Alright, I have now made it all the way around to my last 4 stitches, and if you'll remember, I slipped the first 2 that I worked when I started around to the back. That's these here. So I am ready to do my last 4 into the knitwise, slip off into the knit purlwise, pull it through into the purlwise, pull through and slip that off and go behind, in between, and into that purl knitwise. Now the last 2 have already been worked once, as we know. So we just need to work knit and slip off, purl, and slip off. I like to tug on it as I'm going. You know, after I finish about my 4 steps or so, I give it a tug just to kind of seat everything in position. And what I would do at the end here now, there's a tiny bit of a gap here, but not too much since we worked those and slipped them around to the end. What I try to do is just mimic the way that other things look around it and connect those 2 and then hide my tail down the back. And you can see that we've got an invisible edge here. The knits seem to run right around the top and up over, and it matches the long tail alternating cast on that I showed in another video. And they're both very nice and stretchy. It's a great edge for mittens and sweaters, anything really that you like that invisible look on. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much for watching.